What's up, everybody? Welcome back to This or Therapy. I am your host, Chris Mack, and today we are going to talk about the emasculation of men. Now, I'm sure that we have seen in more recent years, like the rise of women and women's empowerment and things of that nature, which I'm all for. Go out there and get it. Go out there and be somebody. However, it seems to me that the cost of empowering women has come to emasculating men, right? You see a lot, like basically men inherently being born male is basically seen as trash. And you can see it in the behaviors of men. You can see how it's affecting men, right? Like this whole toxic masculinity thing. First of all, I don't believe it's a real thing, because how can toxic masculinity be a thing, but toxic femininity isn't, right? You don't hear anybody saying toxic femininity. No one says that. I never hear that in the echelon of language. I never hear that in anything, in lexicon. Like, no one ever says, oh, she's being toxically feminine. She's being toxically feminine. No, but they say toxically masculine all the time. And it's funny to me that we hear this term toxic masculinity, but it only really comes up when men do something that women don't like, right? Like, no cop has ever been called toxically masculine when he's like coming to save your life from your husband that's beating you, right? No man has ever been called toxically masculine in the middle of the night when you want him to go check out what the rattling sound was in the living room or something like that, right? So there's no real toxic masculinity. I just think that there's toxic people and they happen to be feminine or masculine. That's pretty much it. There's just toxic people and then they can be feminine or masculine. But there is no such thing as toxic masculinity, because most of the things that are seen as toxic masculinity are just man things, right? So that's not really fair, right? Because that means that, like, if a woman wants to like do her nails and look pretty when she goes out, is that not toxic femininity? See what I'm saying? But I've noticed that, like, there's been a kind of an emasculation of men, and you can tell even in our behaviors. Like, men don't even like stand up to their women anymore. And when I mean stand up to the women, I don't mean like talking shit and being mean to them, being disrespectful, but just like letting them know that you have boundaries, right? There's a certain way that you have to be around me to be a good partner, to be around, to be in public, right? You can tell in emasculation. Like, I do a lot of stand-up, right? Everybody knows, if you've been following me for a while, I do stand-up comedy, right? And even then, like in the audience, like, women have so much control over like how well the set can go or how well the show can go, because like, if you make certain jokes or if you do certain things or say certain things, you can tell that, like, if the women don't like it, then the men don't like it. But it's like, aren't you your own person? You know what I mean? Like, I was at a show this past weekend, and it was two couples there, right? And you could tell that the women didn't really want to be there. You can tell, like, it was definitely the dude's idea, which is actually kind of out of the norm, you know what I mean? Because usually it's women that want to go to comedy shows and men that don't want to go. But it was, the dudes definitely wanted to be there. Like, they were there to support their friend, and the girls definitely didn't want to be there. Like, you can tell that they really only wanted to be involved when there was like crowd work going on, when it was about them. But if it wasn't about them, they weren't having a good time. And the dudes were just like following along suit. She's not laughing, I'm not laughing. She's not laughing, I'm not laughing. It's like, pick up your balls, bro. Like, that's why, these women are walking around here miserable, because there's no fucking strong men in their lives. There's no men around to like fucking make them feel safe and comfortable. Make them feel like, they can be a woman in this society. That's why they out here acting like men, trying to go out, get careers and make a lot of money and, like, basically be the husbands that they can't find because there ain't no men around. And I just think, a lot of it's kind of our fault as men, right? Because we tend to overcorrect, right? Because our whole being, whether people want to agree with it or not, our whole being is about procreation, right? That's what we're put on this earth for. That's why we're here. There's really no other reason, right? Basically, human beings are just viruses, germs, whatever. We're trying to procreate, period. Sorry. There's no other reason that we're on this earth. And for men, that's 99% of our thought process, right? Because men think about like sex every 7 seconds. It's a lot. It's like 700 times a day. It's basically like 1,000 times a day, basically, if you think about it. Yes, that's true. That's why we're always horny, ladies. Sorry. Don't know what to tell you. It is what it is. Can't help it. However, that's the whole point, right? Everything that we do, everything that, like, why do you think we get jobs? Why do you think we buy cars or buy fancy clothes, anything like that? It's not for us, because if y'all didn't like any of that, if women didn't like any of that, nobody would have, bruh. Dudes will wear the same t-shirt 7 days a week, maybe wash it once a month. You know what I'm saying? Like, if we could just get laid being just like bare bones minimum, trust me, we would. That's why you see a lot of bum dudes out there who are still bums, because they probably getting laid doing it. It may not be the highest of quality, but they getting laid doing it. That's why they stay being bums. Anyway, but that's the whole point, right? So we overcorrect it. Like, sometimes, we go too extreme, right? Like, if a woman says, hey, buy me flowers, right? We'll go from buying her no flowers to here's a bouquet of flowers, you know what I'm saying? Whatever it keeps us getting laid. And I think that's what's happening too. Like, we've overcorrected in the sense of like how we maintain our women, right? Like, it's like, all right, we'll do whatever you want to do, whatever makes you happy. It's like that sitcom dad shit. Like, the weekend, like, all right, whatever the wife wants, I'll do it. But like, you ever noticed in those sitcoms, the women were always insufferable. They were angry. They were kind of miserable to be around. And why that is because they had a husband that they had to basically walk through life as if they had children and a husband that's a man child. No woman wants a man child, right? And that's why they're miserable, man. Like, we got to stop overcorrecting as men, right? Like, but society has kind of made us do that, right? Because basically it's been telling us that everything that we are as men is inherently wrong. And it's like, no, it's not. That's why our society has thrived, because good, strong men, right? All this infrastructure that we have, good, strong men, these men out there who are fucking, laying down cement, paving asphalt, shit like that. Men who are out there building these buildings, men who are out there underneath the ground, fucking making sure our sewers work, things of that nature. Like, those are good men. These aren't men who are out there like, ooh, I can't wait to get in the sewer and smell like shit all day so I can go home and oppress my wife. I can't wait to do that. I can't wait to wake up at 5 a.m. and take out the city's garbage and smell like shit all day so I can go home and oppress my wife. No. That's not what we do. That's not what men are doing. That's not what we're here for. We're not here to oppress women. Are there some men in power that oppress women? Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. But that's not the majority of us. That's not why the majority of us want to like create wealth or create a business or create a legacy. That's not why the majority of us go out there and work our asses off to do, like, so we can have power of women. No. Most of the shit that's happened in the world, most of the reason why we have a society is so we can protect y'all. That's what we're here for. That's what our whole goal is as men. You are here to provide us with a seed in the air and keep our lineage going. And we are here to protect you and our seed. That's what we're here for. So all this like oppressive language saying that, men are oppressing, like, no, it's a few men that do that. But most of us are here to want to protect you. However, to go back to the men, you can't protect a woman if you're scared of her. How are you gonna protect her if you're scared of her? If you allow her to go out and, like the comedy show I was talking about this weekend, like, mess up the energy of the audience because those women weren't laughing and the other people weren't laughing, and like it just infected the energy. You can tell that it spreads, man. Like, so how are you her protector, her provider, if you letting her run like that? You're letting her like embarrass you like that. I just don't get it. Like, these young dudes ain't built the same, man, because there's no way, like, with me, if my father was out with my mom, there's no way she could sit there miserable with a stink face all day embarrassing him. Like, he would have something to say. He wouldn't call her out in public because he's a gentleman, and that's not what, a man does. You don't call your wife out in public. But like, when he got home, he would definitely be like, nah, that ain't how I rock. And the thing is too, she wouldn't even do that to him. She wouldn't go out and make him look bad by looking miserable. She would at least like fake the funk and try to like, look pleasant, because she knows that like if she's going around with a stink face, that's embarrassing for him. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of the problem with the men, right? Because like they're not stepping in their place as men because they're too afraid of like looking like a misogynist, looking like a sexist. But it's like, no, that's what these women want, man. They want men, regardless of what you hear in social media or and in the news or whatever, wherever you receive information from. Like, regardless of what you hear, these women want men. They want to be around men, and we got to start acting like men again. It doesn't make you a bad person, right? Because people think like, oh, you got to go back to the 50s where you can slap a bitch. Like, no, that's not what we're trying to say. Like, you ain't got to slap a woman to get her in line. You just got to show her that you are a man and that she feels secure around you, and she won't have to act like an asshole and be messing up the energy of comedy clubs because she's miserable, right? We need each other, yin and yang. And it starts with us. It always starts with us. I'm not blaming women for it. You know what I'm saying? It starts with us. We got to stop overcorrecting. We got to start being men again, because that's what this world needs. That's what this world needs. That's why we're going to fall into a world of chaos if there's no strong men to like prevent that. Think about any war that's ever fought and things of that nature. The reason why people's way of life continued is because there were strong men to preserve it. And if we keep letting ourselves become more degraded and more weak and things of that nature, we're going to get taken over. Whether it's by physically, mentally, spiritually, whatever the case may be. We need strong men out there. So like, let's stop emasculating ourselves, man. Stop allowing yourself to be stop allowing your manhood to be minimized because somebody thinks it's toxic. No, it's not toxic. You can be a man without being a toxic person, period. Just like you can be a woman without being a toxic person. It's all yin and yang. It's really about how you perceive the world and how you address your emotions and how you control them. You see what I'm saying? So let's stop with the emasculation of men. All right, guys, that's it for today's episode. Let me know in the comments if you think that I said anything wrong, or if you feel like, you have a different opinion, or if you agree with me that there's an emasculation of men going on. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.